Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Haejun from Hanji. Today I'm back with part 2 for noun modifying form, and this time it's going to add tense to your sentences. Before getting into details, I want to build this chart with you to kind of go over what we learned in part 1 and learn details about how to make past tense and future tense with noun modifying form. So what we've learned in part 1 covers the present tense. So let's try to fill in present tense first. With verbs, you add 는, and with adjectives, you add 은, and with 있다 없다, 는, and with copula 이다, 니은, which makes it in all the time. And now for past tense, you only need to learn how to make the verbs into past tense using noun modifying form, because with adjectives 있다 없다 and copula 이다, there is no noun modifying form available for them in order to make them into a past tense. Only verbs can be turned into past tense using noun modifying form. So when you make verbs into past tense using noun modifying form, you need to add 은 instead of 는. 는 was attached to verbs when it was present tense. However, for past tense with verbs, you need to attach 은. And for future tense, it's simple. Just like you use polite ending 을 거예요. 을 is what makes verbs, adjectives, 있다 없다, and copula 이다 a future tense. So for all four of them, it's always 을. You just gotta know if the word ends with a consonant or a vowel. I want to emphasize that verbs using noun modifying form occur within the relative clause. You'll see what I mean by that in one of the examples, so let's just get right to the examples. Because we're only allowed to change verbs into past tense using noun modifying form, I want to focus on examples using verbs. So for the first example, I want to use 먹다, to eat. And we're going to try to translate each of these sentences. A person who eats kimchi. A person who ate kimchi. A person who will eat kimchi. So those slight differences in tense will occur using noun modifying form. Starting off with our first sentence, a person who eats kimchi. Like I mentioned in my previous video, Korean sentence formation is opposite of English. So in this case, you start with kimchi. So 김치를 who eats 먹는. You attach 는 after verb in order to make it present tense. So 먹는 a person, 사람. 김치를 먹는 사람, a person who eats kimchi. Then how about for a person who ate kimchi? 김치를 먹은 사람, 먹은 사람. Since 먹 is ending in a consonant, you add 은, not 니은. So 먹은 사람. 김치를 먹은 사람. And for a person who will eat kimchi, 김치를 먹을 사람. 먹 ending with a consonant, so you add 을 instead of 리을. 김치를 먹을 사람. For our second example, I want to use 보다, to watch or to see. How would you translate the movie that I watched is fun? Since this is a past tense, you add 은 to 보다. So you simply drop 다, you're left with 보. And you're adding 은. 보 ends in a vowel. So in this case, it only requires you to attach 니은, 본. Not 보은, but 본. So 제가 본, what did you watch? A movie, 영화. 영화 is a movie. 제가 본 영화는, it's fun. So 재미있어요. 재미있다 means to be fun. So 제가 본 영화는 재미있어요. The movie that I watched is fun. Verbs using noun modifying form would occur within the relative clause. Within the clauses that require those relative pronouns, like who, that, which, you see noun modifying form. Try to compare that sentence with this one. I watched a fun movie. 제가 재미있는 영화를 봤어요. I 재미있는 영화, a fun movie. 재미있는 영화를 봤어요. I watched a fun movie. It slightly changed the formation of the sentence, but you can tell 재미있는 is also using noun modifying form. However, it's not within a relative clause. But for the previous sentence that I used, the movie that I watched is fun, is within a relative clause. And that's what I mean by verbs using noun modifying form occur within a relative clause. 재미있는 영화 is a simple description of a movie, so it does not necessarily have to occur within a relative clause. However, for these verbs, you do have to use these within a relative clause where you can explain the action that took place. Using the verb to watch or to see, 보다, how would you make that into a present tense? The movie that I am watching is fun. For present tense, you need to use 는 for verbs. So you attach 는. 보는 영화. 제가 보는 영화는 재미있어요. The movie that I'm watching is fun. And as my last example, I want to use a verb to make, 만들다. As some of you might have realized, this is a real irregular verb. Like I mentioned in my previous video, words with real and pi읍, you need to watch out for irregular conjugation. 만들다 is a real irregular verb. For present tense, let's try to translate the food that my friend makes is delicious. 제 친구가. For present tense, you need to attach 는 for verbs. So in this case, 만들다 plus 는. But here, you have a real irregular. Without 다, you're left with 만들 and 는. But since you see 니은 from 는, you need to drop 리을. So you're left with 만드는. 만드는 음식. The food that my friend makes. 제 친구가 만드는 음식은 맛있어요. It's delicious. And for the food that my friend made is delicious, you could say 제 친구가 만든. This is a real irregular word. And for past tense, you need to add 은. And you see 우. Therefore, you are dropping 리을 and 우. So you're left with 만드 and 니은. 만든 음식. 제 친구가 만든 음식은 맛있어요. 제 친구가 만든 음식은 맛있어요. And now for future tense, how would you translate the food that my friend will make is spicy rice cake. Spicy rice cake is 떡볶이 in Korean. 떡볶이. 제 친구가 만들. For future tense, you need to attach 을. And in this case, you see another 우. That requires you to drop 리을 and 우. So you're left with 만드 and 리을. Combine them all together is 만들. 제 친구가 만들 음식은 떡볶이예요. 제 친구가 만들 음식은 떡볶이예요. And I recommend you to review the chart that I built with you guys to memorize when 는 or 은 is used, or even 을 for future tense. So this video concludes how to use noun modifying form. For the first video, I created noun modifying form for describing your noun. For today's video, I covered noun modifying form that adds tense to your sentences. If you have any further questions, feel free to let me know. And if you have a particular grammar that you would like me to cover, you can always let me know in the comments as well. And please subscribe for more informative videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.